So, if you're a primary teacher here in New Zealand, you've probably heard there are some pretty big changes coming to the maths curriculum. But what does it all actually mean for you and your classroom? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the refreshed curriculum for years 0 to 6 so you know exactly what to expect. Let's dive in. The new curriculum kicks off with this really powerful wakatoki, which translates to behold, it is like the web of a spider. And honestly, it's the perfect metaphor for what this refresh is all about. It's about seeing maths not as a bunch of separate, disconnected topics, but as this intricate, interconnected, and really strong web of ideas. It's a great image to keep in mind as we go. Alright, so here's our game plan. First, we'll quickly look at why this change is happening in the first place. Then, we'll get into the new year-by-year structure, which is a really big shift. After that, we'll dig into the specifics for years 0 to 3, and then years 4 to 6. And we'll wrap up by looking at all the support that's coming your way to make this happen.
Okay, let's start with the big question. Why are we doing this? Well, the core idea is all about creating a much clearer, more consistent, and more connected learning pathway in maths for every single student, right from the day they first walk into school.
Now, a key phrase you're going to hear a lot is knowledge-rich, and all that really means is that the curriculum is now being super clear about what students need to learn and when they need to learn it. The goal is to get rid of any guesswork and make sure every kid is building the same solid foundation of maths knowledge one step at a time.
Right, on to what is probably the single biggest structural change. This is a big one. We're moving away from those old, broad curriculum levels to something way more specific.
It's called the year-by-year teaching sequence. In simple terms, no more ambiguity. Instead of those broad objectives that could span a couple of year levels, you're now going to have a really clear, specific list of exactly what needs to be taught in year 1, what's for year 2, what's for year 3, and so on.
This whole sequence, from year 0 all the way to year 10, is broken down into 4 phases. For what we're talking about today, we are zeroing in on the first 2. Phase 1, which is all about years 0 to 3, and Phase 2, which covers years 4 to 6.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty for all our junior school teachers. What's really changing in years 0 to 3? Well, it is all about building that rock-solid foundation and doing it with a much, much tighter focus. So, what's the big theme here? It's really all about focus. You can see there's way more specific detail on number ranges and key knowledge, and a huge emphasis on place value. And look at that last point. The probability strand is actually gone from these early years. That's a really deliberate move to free up time so we can make absolutely sure every student masters the fundamentals of number first. And this right here is a perfect example of what that greater specificity actually looks like in the classroom. It's crystal clear. During that first year of school, the focus is on understanding the number sequence from 0 to 20. Then, in the second year, it explicitly progresses to the sequence from 0 to 100. It's just a clear, logical, and totally manageable next step.
Okay, so let's move into Phase 2. How does this build for our middle and senior primary students? Well, this is where we take that strong foundation and really start to extend it into more complex mathematical thinking.
So for those of you teaching in years 4 to 6, here are the big things to keep an eye on. There's a much bigger push on knowing those multiplication and division facts by heart. Fractions and decimals are broken down into a way clearer sequence. And hey, look who's back. Probability makes its return starting from year 5. And here we go again, another perfect example of that clear progression. During year 4, the expectation is that students memorize their facts for the 2s up to the 10s. The very next year, that just extends to include the 11s and 12s. It's a really clear expectation that builds right on top of last year's learning.
And it's the exact same story with decimals. I mean, look at this beautiful logical sequence. In year 4, the focus is on tenths. In year 5, it expands to hundreds. And in year 6, thousands. Each year just adds another layer of understanding, setting them up perfectly for what's to come later on.
Okay, so I know a new curriculum can feel a little overwhelming, but the big message here is that you are not being left on your own to figure this all out. There is a whole lot of support being rolled out to help you.
The official start date for everyone is Term 1, 2026. So that gives us all plenty of time to get our heads around these changes, and the support is going to be rolling out well before then to help everyone get ready. So, what does this support actually look like? Well,
As you can see, it's pretty comprehensive. You can expect things like targeted PLD sessions, roadshows, workshops, and heaps of practical online resources like teaching materials and quick guides, all designed to make this shift as smooth as it can possibly be.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that spider's web. The whole point of this clearer, more connected curriculum is to give you the tools to help your students weave a stronger, more resilient web of mathematical knowledge. So the question I'll leave you with is this: how will this new structure help you do that in your classroom? Thanks so much for watching.